holy smokes, that was a pretty big one, wasn't it? In fact, for sure, that is the single biggest, I guess you could call it, accident that I have ever done karting. Well, it wasn't even close. Some things I've done has been like, yeah, they were like minor incidents. One of them was like a moderate incident when the wheel came off. I guess some people might call that a major incident, but for me that was just like I just did a couple of spins around on an like completely empty track. There was no one else there. So that was a fairly minor incident. But that was really the only other thing that happened where it was like, whoa, that actually could have been pretty serious. This was the only other thing that's happened that has been sort of in that territory, and it was a big one. It was a very, very big one. Although that was a pretty big example of stacking it off in the gravel, going bush, I do want to actually get some sort of, I guess you'd call it like an educational purpose out of it. So, yeah, on paper, that was a big one. I went off and that's pretty much it. I took a curb and then I went off and boom, off into the gravel. But I've actually been reviewing the footage of the very last video that I uploaded, which was of my fastest lap that I've ever done ever, which was my first time breaking into the 44s, which, by the way, is about 1.5 seconds off of like really, really fast race pace. So I'm pretty happy with that lap time. But I looked at the very specific part of the track where that actual corner happens, that left-hander through that apex and then onto the straight. I looked through that exact corner and watched both videos, like side by side. I watched both of them and went frame by frame as I went through the corner on both laps. And one time I went through it flawlessly, seemingly flawlessly, and got my fastest lap. And the very next time, it appeared to be that I did pretty much exactly the same thing, but I went scooting off into the gravel and stacked it. So I was a little bit confused about how that could have possibly happened, because as far as I was aware, I did exactly the same thing both times with essentially polar opposite results. Let's review the corner where I went off across 2 separate laps to see where I made a mistake. First is my PR lap time of 44.93. As you can see, as I come up to the corner, I'm on the right hand side of the track to ensure that I have the cleanest run through the apex. This allows me to very cleanly follow the curb through the apex, which then allows me to have a very clean exit and sets me up well for the straight without breaking track limits. Now let's see where I made a mistake on the other lap. As you can see, coming up to the corner, I'm already driving more mid-track than to the right. This compromises my apex, which then makes me drive across rather than through the apex, which upsets the kart, pops a wheel, which then means instead of going through the corner, I simply drive across it and into the gravel trap.